This brings us to our last school which the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah have agreed upon. The last school which the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah have agreed upon is the Hanbali madhab, or the school of Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal, the founder of which was Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal. And we can basically say this school is an offspring of number 1, number 2 and number 3. Because Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal benefited from the students of Imam Abu Hanifa, from Imam Abu Yusuf, and thus was able to, and thus acquired the fiqh of Iraq. He benefited directly from Imam Shafi'i, thus he was able to acquire the fiqh of Imam Abu Shafi'i, and he benefited from the students of Imam Malik. And he also benefited from the Muhaddithin. Thus Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal was able to combine all three. And he came out with a fourth madhab, which is called the Hanbali madhab, or the Hanbali school of thought. Now unlike Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal did not write his madhab down. On the contrary, he would prohibit his students from writing his fatwas. The reason he stopped his students from writing his fatwas is because he believed that the only thing that should be written is the Quran and Sunnah. So whenever a problem arises, the Muslims do not look at these books of fiqh, but go straight to the Quran and Sunnah. So they don't forget this. Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal at the beginning would prohibit his students from writing his fatwa. After his death, it was his son and his students who compiled his madhab. Now before I continue, a final thing is that some of the people believe that Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal was not a master in fiqh. He was not a faqih. They say he was only a muhaddith. Ibn Jarir al-Tabari is one of those who has written this. This is completely wrong. The reason being is because Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, because he gave preference to relating hadith than giving fatwas, he came to be known more as a muhaddith, a master of hadith, than a jurist, though he was an imam in both. Secondly, because he prohibited his companions at the beginning to writing down his fatwas, some people began to believe the reason he does this because he's not a faqih. This is completely wrong, because I've just mentioned the reason he would do this is so that people do not forget to rely on the Quran and Sunnah. And if we look at his latter life, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal himself has written down some of his fatwas. Now this is basically the basis of the four madhab and the fiqh in the beginning of the 2nd century to the beginning of the 4th. There were many other madhabs which arose within this period of time. There was the Thawri madhab, there was the Laythi madhab, there was the Awza'i madhab, there was the Jariri madhab, there was the Zahiri madhab. But all these madhabs died out due to one reason or another. And because they died out and do not exist today, and the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah have agreed upon these four, it is pointless talking about these madhabs. Now in spite that these great imams had different opinions, subhanallah, the respect the imams had for one another was amazing. Imam Abu Shafi'i would say regarding Abu Hanifa, "An-nasu fil fiqh iyarun ala Abi Hanifa." That all the people with regards to the fiqh are dependents of Abu Hanifa. Imam Malik says regarding Imam Abu Hanifa that I met Imam Abu Hanifa and we sat for hours. We discussed many masail. He says, فَمَا رَيْتُ رَجُلًا أَفْقَى مِنْهُ. I have never seen a man like him. I have never seen somebody more knowledgeable than him. Imam Shafi'i said regarding Imam Malik, لَوْلَا مَالِكُ وَسُفْيَانَ لَذَهَبَ إِلْمُ الْحِجَاز. If there was no Malik and Sufyan, there would be the knowledge of Hijaz would have been finished. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal says regarding Imam Shafi'i, that Imam Shafi'i was kashamti l'dunya, he was like the moon for the world. So this is the respect these great imams had for them. So up to the beginning of the 4th century, such was the state of the general masses, that the general masses always made taqleed. However, the ulama in the first 3 centuries always made ijtihad and would derive the laws from the Quran and Sunnah themselves. However, in the beginning of the 4th century thereafter, situation changed. What was the situation? Is that the general masses made taqleed, and now the ulama slowly began to make taqleed. Many reasons have been given as to why the ulama started making taqleed. One of which is the scholars write that the scholars of the 1st century had nearly solved every problem. And because they had solved the majority of the problems, the ulama thought it's a waste of time solving something which has been already solved. Secondly, a scholar of fiqh was he in the first 3 centuries who studied the Quran and Sunnah and then directly derived laws from therein. However, in the 4th century, it changed. The students, instead of studying, spending more time directly on the Quran and Sunnah, they also started spending time on the books of the scholars that they followed. And the imams they began to follow. They began to study their books in detail and the methods that they had used to derive these laws. And because of this, the taqleed crept in. And what happened was slowly, more and more scholars began to make taqleed of the four madhabs, because the four madhabs became stronger and stronger to the extent that in different parts of the world, it was this madhab which governed them, and the Khalifa at the time would follow these laws. And slowly, the door of ijtihad was closed, till finally now what we have is the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah basically following one of the four Imams. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to act upon what I said. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillah.